the sport itself has been the single most transformative thing in my life. I think without it, I definitely would not be here at 34 years old. So, yeah, I think a lot of people want to espouse the whole Jiu-Jitsu saved my life thing, but I think it's Jiu-Jitsu changed my life. I think that's better because, I saw in my mid-20s where my life was going, and I did not like the look of that. I was forced to put that under the microscope in a lot of ways and go, if you want to be here for another decade or at all, you're going to need to make some changes. And it wasn't anything else except for getting into the training room and fortunately being surrounded by people with a positive outlook and a supportive outlook that enabled that for sure.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Ways to Wealth. Today it's a bit of a different episode. I'm joined by Jahred Dell, one of the top Jiu-Jitsu competitors in the country. But Jahred, why don't you give us the TLDR on who you are and how you got here?
Yeah, well, firstly, thanks for having me on, man. I'm Jahred Dell. I'm a black belt under Pedro Fernandes at Tukaha. I've been training since about 2012. I've been competing pretty much that long as well. I've been competing at ADCC level, professional level for the last 5 years now. And it's been a long road to get there, and I guess we'll unpack some of that today. Yeah. I'm also a high school teacher, a community high school teacher now, not just at any school, but so a little bit of everything involved there. But yeah, that's pretty much me, man.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. So that's a long time ago. That's 13 coming on 14 years. I first started when I was at university. Okay. I went to university down in Dunedin. That's right.
I'd done like karate and judo as a kid, and I actually started some Muay Thai and like kickboxing when I was at high school. I went to high school with Pedro Fernandes, and obviously he's now in the UFC and amazing fighter, but I was at school with him in Christchurch, and he was already going to Thailand and, had some Muay Thai fights and stuff, and a bunch of friends and myself, we went and signed up at the gym that he was at. They had some jiu-jitsu that was going, like jiu-jitsu classes that were going on there. So I kind of knew what the sport was about, watching UFC and stuff, but I only did it for the first time at uni. I was doing boxing for fitness, and I love boxing, but it was way too hard. The fitness sessions and the conditioning. For me at the time, I've always been quite a lazy person. I just hated that. And I looked across one session and they had the Gracie Humaida gym in the same gym. Yeah. And I was like, these guys have got jiu-jitsu and these guys are in the gi just like laying around on their back. Like, this has surely got to be easier than this boxing workout that I'm doing. So gave that a go, and the rest is pretty much history after that. But that led to kind of my exposure to no gi, which is, I love the gi aspect, so for people who don't know, jiu-jitsu is kind of split into two factions. Like two kind of disciplines, I suppose. You've got like the kimono or the gi, and then you've got no gi, which is obviously like spats and shorts and the rash guard and stuff like that. But I didn't even know that existed, honestly. I knew of MMA, but I didn't realize that was the case until I signed up for the jiu-jitsu there. And Royler Gracie was visiting the next week. And part of that was, I was like, who is this guy that's coming to visit? And I discovered ADCC, I discovered Meta Morris and his matches with Eddie Bravo. Yeah. And I was like, actually, there's this whole part of the sport that's not just the gi. There's this no gi element as well. And so kind of got exposed to that pretty early on. And
do you think that no-gi intrigued you more when you found it? Or was it
actually, I would say it's the other way around, man. The gi was harder. The intricacies of the gi. It
does feel like gi is harder.
In ways, it's harder. In other ways, it's not. I feel like the fundamentals of the gi, like grips and stuff, can actually be much more forgiving. Like if you get to your grips, essentially you win. Whereas in no-gi, there's a lot more that you have to deal with on the way to successful positions and things like that. Yeah. So like if you are sparring with a black belt and he gets to his grips, you're cooked.
Yeah.
In the gi.
Yeah. If
you're sparring with a black belt no gi, there's much more dynamics at play there, which can make the round or the roll or the conversation a lot more
dynamic.
Definitely more dynamic. And it's so they're both interesting in their own way as you boil it down. But I found personally that I was better at no-gi. Okay. What I mean by that is I found more success early on in competition with no-gi. I was really lucky that when I got back to Christchurch and I continued training in 2014 after Teachers College. One of my coaches was Sam Belkin, who's a Commonwealth bronze medalist, and he was doing our no-gi program. And I mean, even back then, he was showing stuff like berimbolos and systems that have only really kind of been talked about and kind of documented and perfected in recent years. So he was very ahead of the game, and that really helped me to understand how we can morph jiu-jitsu, wrestling, and all of these things together. So I think that really helped me to understand and be successful in no-gi earlier. But yeah, so I mean, it's infinitely fun, man. I think that's the thing that's kept me doing it. It's just it's a rabbit hole. It's just an absolute rabbit hole. But yeah.
That's really interesting. So, what do you think? Like, what do you think kind of makes a good gym?
Oh, what makes a good gym? I mean, there's a lot to that question, eh? I mean, I guess probably one of the best ways that I can answer that is my experience moving from Christchurch to Auckland, because I had to go from a good gym and the security of that in Christchurch at Access. When I can't
remember who you trained with at Access. It's someone Cameron. I'm a good friends with his brother. Ben.
So this is a perfect example, right? Okay. Because when I first started there, guys like him were purple belts, and these were guys who were dads, professionals, had jobs and things, but on the mats were really good mentors. They weren't just like coming there to beat the hell out of you as a white belt, like as a body. And they kind of made the experience of being a very unfit, unskilled beginner one that was easy for me to engage with, and showed and helped to build me into someone who was proficient at the sport from day one. So I think that element is important, having a gym culture where senior belts are generous with their knowledge, aren't gatekeeping, and are able to mentor new people coming in to show them the way. They were really good. I mean, essentially kind of like the elder statesman of the gym. And I learned so much from guys like that. So in 2017, I moved up to Auckland for a new teaching job. Yep. I've been teaching in Christchurch for 3 years. Before that, finished Teachers College, and a position came up here, and I was kind of sick of the aftershocks and sick of the earthquakes, and I was interviewing for new jobs and new positions as I became a qualified teacher, and I interviewed and was offered a job up here in the same week space of the week that the Kaikoura earthquakes were. And I was just like, I can't stay here anymore. I was just so sick of, this kind of, that post earthquake Christchurch was a very challenging time. And the kids I was teaching were struggling with it. The people were struggling with it. And I was struggling with it as well. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to move up to Auckland. I know there's great gyms up there, and I went through the process of visiting every gym up here. And I was starting to despair a little bit because I was not finding that same kind of vibe, the same kind of depth of the culture that I was used to from Axis. And the last gym I visited was actually Tukaha.
Right.
And we were still in Les Mills in town at the time then. And I came on a Saturday to a comp class, and I just got destroyed. But like in a nice way. Like, I got technically destroyed, and I was like, wow, like, okay, this culture is, the kind of thing I was looking for.
Right.
And that made my decision very easy. Then I pretty much was just like, okay, well, this is where I want to be. This is the kind of room and the kind of people I want to be around. And it just kind of, it meshed with me, I guess. I know a lot of people have been attracted to different elements of different gyms and different cultures and different philosophies and mentalities. So I can't knock that. I think, everyone's got their own personal preferences. I just know for me, I needed that. I needed those kind of tough senior people to kind of check me in terms of not just on a technical level, but also like personally to go like, why weren't you here, or things like that. Like almost I needed that accountability just as like a person in their 20s who could easily be doing everything else under the sun.
Right.
So, coaches like Pedro and Simi, who runs Eastside Grapplers now, and Jahred Dell, they really kind of just became the staples in influencing like my consistency in training and stuff like that. But I think it's different for everyone.
Well, the great thing about Tukaha is that kind of, it's almost like the benefit you get from building a family and keeping the family unit together, right? It's like compounding trust.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually.
Yeah.
And obviously Pedro's done that compounding now for many, 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 many years. And like and obviously you've seen how that culture has obviously expanded out to other gyms, and people that he's taught have then gone on, created their own, right?
Yeah. And I think, when we talk about lineage is obviously like a big thing in traditional jiu-jitsu conversations. I look at the lineage that Pedro comes from and the lineage that he continues to support, and that expectation is really strong in everyone. And you can see it in the culture of the gym and, the culture of the jiu-jitsu it creates as well. And in terms of the depth of grappling knowledge on the mats on any given day, you can see like there'll be like 50 to 60 years of jiu-jitsu experience in the coaches or the instructors. And, much more than that, if we're starting to look around the room of who's rolling and things like that, you'll be like, oh, there's like at least 100 years of experience in this room. And
I think I did 6 rounds before we got here, and I think I did 1 round with the brown belt. Everyone else was black.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Which is nuts, right? Because when I started at 10th Planet in the US for a few months, Michael Hildebrand was my first coach.
Oh, yep.
And he set the tone for my jiu-jitsu, like big time. So me and him are close, and we had a bond, even though I wasn't there for that long. And then I came back there and I got my blue belt there. But I kind of then floated until I found Tukaha and Pedro. But I was grateful for that floating as well, because if I hadn't have floated, I wouldn't have trained with Hux for 18 months, and that was a really special time, because that's when it was like Byron, Hux, Zach, and Prashant training hard. So that was really cool. But then Pedro and the culture at Tukaha really kind of took my pretty one-dimensional crappy jiu-jitsu and has like broadened it.
Nice.
But also the people there, it's just different. I don't know.
For sure. And I mean, it's such an individualized thing, you know, like the sport. Like you're in a room with a team and you're interacting with other people's jiu-jitsu all the time, and it's like shaping yours. But, you know, there's so much of it that's like painted by personal preference and experience, you know, like, and I think it's important to not discount that, you know, like I certainly don't want to sit here and be like, oh, you know, one gym's better than another, because they're all different, you know, and the book I read and enjoy is not the same when somebody else picks up that same book. You know, they might not like it, they might not interpret it the same way or whatever. But I think
that's the benefit you get from cross training. I've had that same thought with culture, trying to immerse myself in different cultures and views so I can be less like ignorant, perhaps. And same with investing, because investing is very similar to jiu-jitsu, where I think styles of investing become cult-like. Value investing, tech investing, you know, like those, you know, bearish investors, you know, Bitcoin, obviously, it all becomes a little bit idealistic. And we know at the top level of jiu-jitsu, you can't be idealistic because you'll get your ACL blown out, right?
It's like being stuck in that echo chamber, you know? I really, I can't remember who, obviously that term has been around forever, but like this idea of an echo chamber and like having your blinders on and getting a little bit too focused and not looking at the bigger perspective can lead you to be myopic a little bit. And in a jiu-jitsu sense, or like any sense really, education, hell, you could take that anywhere. If you're not looking outside of that and going, hey, maybe I could be wrong, you know, having a bit of inbuilt skepticism and being willing to explore other things, you do risk becoming like pigeonholed into one little thing. And I think that's going to be the same at any of the elite levels of anything, you know. You look at the best people everywhere, and they've got very nuanced perspectives about what that thing is, and they realize that it's not just a hard and fast absolute for everything, you know. And that's one thing I've been a lot more conscious about recently with my teaching when I'm coaching jiu-jitsu, but also in the classroom space. Always and never are so very rarely true that I just really try to remove those kind of conversation, like those words from conversation. I'm very careful about going, you should always try to do this and never try to do that, because there are cases where sometimes, you know, the unconventional is true, you know. I can say in most circumstances, the top player can win until you see Lucas Kennard or you see a Levi Jones playing guard in a way that it's impossible to pass their guard, and they submit you from there. So the subversion of those kind of principles, I don't want to drill anything into a person where they now go, oh, but you know, Jahred told me that I should always be on top. Not if you've got an elite level guard, you know, if you, it's, you know, I suppose that principle is the same anyway, you know? We talk about it a lot, like know the race you're running and such, and then the game that you want to like play your game. But I mean, it's kind of a mix, I think, in the training room. I think that's what you learn through the belts more than anything, rather than skill, is how to train. Oh my God, absolutely. Like, and I think I see a lot of people who aren't reflecting on that, and that's can be very detrimental to your health, but also your progression, you know.
Well, and it's connected.
Absolutely. Because, you know, you train wrong you get injured or it compromises your health, and then
you don't train.
You can't progress. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I learned those lessons very, very early on at Blue Belt.
Right.
Where, we would be near unemployed and just training every day. And, you're like, oh, well, I'm going to, I'm doing doubles today.
Yeah.
I'm doing 6 hours of training. And then suddenly you're like, oh, man, I'm sick, I'm injured, I've got a staph infection. Oh, that's like, 6 weeks off or whatever, And I think my biggest learning curve with that was, definitely at Blue Belt when I visited and trained in Thailand.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I'm taking a full 6 weeks over there. This is going to be sick. I've got to train every day, all day. And the first 2 weeks were great. I was doing like pretty much 6 hours a day of actual just jiu-jitsu, like on the mat time. And what happened was I just got super run down. I got sick. I got a staph infection. And then I had to spend the next 2 weeks not training.
Yeah.
And so, the return on that investment was great.
You got 30% less time, basically.
Exactly. So you start to learn, hey, well, actually, I need to listen to my body more. Like, this is what I can manage. Like, okay. And, especially because I'm not chemically enhanced. I don't.
That's a whole nother.
That's a whole nother conversation, right? I feel like a lot of people, because that is not included in the conversation, they go, oh, well, the elite guy is training for 6 hours a day, so I need to do that. And then trying to do that, they burn themselves out because they don't know, oh, this guy's also running a test cycle and all of this other stuff that goes on. And I mean,
I think that's just the underappreciated thing about that dynamic of actually taking stimulants, I guess. Would you call them stimulants? I mean,
I would say more than stimulants, right?
Performance enhancing.
Performance enhancing.
But it's enhancing because you can train more.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of people think, oh, well, you're just going to, do P.E.Ds and you just get stronger. It's like, no, it's the compounding time on the mat, the experience, and the 1,000 more reps of a move and a technique that you can do. And I mean, I don't think you have to be performance enhanced to be elite,
right?
Because there are a lot of guys who have reached the top level without it. But it can take someone who is non-outlier and make them an outlier, because it just gives you that extra kind of, fuel injection into your engine.
Enter everyday training. Yeah. And you're not going to get ran down, and most likely.
I used to have a real hard line about it in terms of being like, oh, well, you're a cheater and you're this and that. But it's legal in the sport.
Yeah.
It's what it is. So how can it's not really cheating then, if en passant in chess is legal, why would you not do it? Right. So with that said, I also know a lot of people who use TRT or things like that to enhance their life, for whatever reasons, biologically, they're aging out of like their peak, and they're using that to have a better quality of life where they can still train and be a good parent and still work a job, a physically demanding job.
Yeah. So
with that said, I just go, actually, you know what, if like it's actually improving your life, then kind of more power to you. But when it's a competitive thing in a combat sport, then there are a few more asterisks and question marks. But I've fought guys on P.E.Ds. I've beaten guys on P.E.Ds. I've lost to guys on P.E.Ds. I've fought guys that are natural. I've lost to guys who are natural, and I've beaten guys who are natural. And I don't necessarily think that it's like, oh, this out of those kind of four possible outcomes, one is morally more justified than others. I think, it's just, hey, this is a life decision that you're making and you've got to kind of live with it.
And you have to, and, everyone that's training makes that choice, and you have to, as again, going back to that not being envious, you know, because it's an envy thing. It's like, oh, well, that guy's on P.E.Ds. Well, it's like, well, you're running your own race. You go get P.E.Ds yourself, you know. You have to accept. I'm like, well, I'll run the analysis, and if I choose, okay, I'm actually not going to take P.E.Ds, but it's because I've chosen that.
And comparison is the thief of joy, right? I mean, I really like that, and this is definitely that kind of thing, right? Just because I get beaten by a guy who's natural, I don't go, oh, well, he's on steroids. He just hasn't said, like, okay, whatever. Like, that's not my race. It's not the book I'm reading, you know? And 100%. I think a lot of people, it's easy to get caught up in that, but it's also easy for competitors to use it as a cope. You know, oh, he beat me, so he must be on steroids. And I've had that. I've had people accuse me of that. At first,
I've never had that.
At first I would get like really barred up and really offended by that because, you know.
That's actually a compliment in a way, though.
It's a very backhanded one. You know, I would get, because it didn't align with my principles, and to be accused of it, like, I felt this huge kind of like hey, you know, like, I've got a problem with that. I need to set the record straight. But I just realized that was more about them than it was about me. And then I was just like, oh, okay, well, it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm not, what do you want me to do? Like, do you want me to go and get a blood test and show you, like, do a piss test in front of you? Like, it's not going to change this. I'm not going to validate this, you know? So, you know, I think it's an interesting one. It's certainly a conversation that's going on in the sport at the moment. It'd be interesting to see how the dynamic around competition evolves. But I think that the access to trying to optimize health is like a trend that doesn't seem to be dissipating. Right? So seems to be the thing. Now, with your arc of progression and your arc in competition, like I think it would be fair to say that actually it's been a pretty gradual compounding like growth. You know, it's not like you've just jumped on the scene and all of a sudden you've blown up into definitely top level. You were like competing across the actual full arc of what a grassroots grappler would, right? All the way to the highest level. And then you've seen people at the highest level since you started like fall away. Right, I think there's been like 3 or 4 rotations almost of top guys since you've been starting to kind of be in that advanced super fight level. I mean, that's kind of me just watching on the sideline. I would say that's a pretty accurate assessment. I mean, I started competing at like local competitions from white belt, right? I was lucky that I had coaches who were very supportive of that. You know, like I maybe had 3 months of training before I did my first competition. And it's got to the stage now where, you know, obviously like ADCC trials and pro level, I mean, I've been very fortunate to fight some of the best guys in the world, you know, like, I mean, Declan Moody, for example, just won the open weight Grand Prix at who's number one on yesterday. You know, I was very privileged to have a match with him, ADCC trials in Singapore, I think actually, in 2023. And that would have been I think that was my second trials. You know, guys like Michael Pixley, you know, Daniel Schwartz, all of those guys have been very lucky to and privileged to have matches with, you know, because, I would say, you know, they're not just some of the best in the region, but definitely some of the best in the world. And I mean, I never really imagined that I'd be doing that. It wasn't ever a goal of mine. You know, the competition thing, I never got into the sport actually thinking, you know what, I'm going to compete. I didn't even know that it was a thing you could do, really. Right. And then, you know, it's certainly a compounding thing, though. I didn't jump in straight away and go like, oh, you know what, I'm going to do like IBJJF Worlds or things like that. It was just more like this kind of conversation, having it in my head, like, oh, okay, you know, you're doing pretty well on the local scene. What's another challenging comp that you could do? You know, there's grappling industries across the ditch in Australia. Right. Lines up, like you could make that work. Okay, I'm going to do that. And then, you know, for a long time through like blue belt to purple belt, we were going to as many of those as possible. And I'd kind of set some goals for myself around competition when I started to go, actually, you know, this is something that's improving your jiu-jitsu a lot.
Right.
And I'll go, okay, well, this year, why don't we try and compete 10 times?
Yeah.
Why don't we compete 12 times? Why don't we compete every month? Okay, that's a pretty hard goal, but, you know, when you don't know, you think that that's possible. I think the best that I managed to do myself was 14 competitions in a year.
That's intense.
Yeah, and when it's things like a grappling industries in Oz, that was no time limit sub only. They tried that once. Thanks, Ben Hodgkinson, for trying that. You're a machine. It ran for 2 days. Yeah. And I think I had something like I had 8 matches in the gi on the first day, because you can do your weight division and then the absolute. So I did that on the first day. And then on the second day, it was no gi. And I think I had something like another 8 matches. So that's a huge amount of experience. And that was actually the thing we were starting to chase. It was never like, we weren't going, okay, well, I want to go and win gold, like 4 gold medals and stuff. We didn't ever think about like that. Of course, at the elite level now, that changes a bit. You can't go to the elite level and be like, oh, well, I'm just going to take part. You have to change that mentality and go to win. But at a grappling industries, we were like, man, those are some stacked divisions. I can get this much mat time and this much experience. Yeah. And if I win, I win. If I don't, like, okay, so what? But that was a very valuable mindset. And that was something that Sam Belkin taught me early on. Yep. Right from, I think the first time I ever competed in North Island, I was still based in Christchurch. And I came up to a sub-only comp in Hamilton.
Oh, yeah. One of those cool MMA ones.
It's when I first met some of the boys from Tukaha. And I had to fight some of them. Yeah. But he said to me the week before the comp, he said, get a piece of paper. It has to be physical. Don't type it up on your phone or anything. And write down 3 goals you want to achieve that have nothing to do with winning. Like not even winning a match, not about a medal or anything like that. So I think, I still remember, I think I was like, I want to take the back. I want this position, and I want like this takedown or something like that. Yeah. And so afterwards, you then sit with it and you go, oh, did I achieve that? Great. And that was our way of getting like data and going, actually, I only got 1 out of those 3 goals to work. And then I could bring that back to training and conscientiously have something to work towards. That obviously changes as you start getting to the elite level, and winning is more important. Yeah. And you then have to go by margins, and it's like,
that's when it starts again. So when you got your black belt, it kind of, the game started again.
Yes. Yeah.
Whereas on your way there, you're kind of those goals are great to be intangible in a sense. Although they are tangible. I remember one thing I really loved about what Mike did when I was at 10th Planet was he'd go and whisper in your ear and he'd be like, just go and take the back. Just do that. And he would give you like little quests, and he would be giving everyone quests in the class, but secretly.
Yes,
exactly. And that I think gives you that kind of focus on, oh no, I'm not going to win the round. Yeah. I'm going for the back. And
to bring that back to your initial question about like how watching the loops of elite guys who've kind of been through it is, we started a lot by watching singular guys. You know, you'd watch someone like a Marcelo Garcia and go like, oh, what does he do well? Oh, here's an Eddie Cummings. What does he do well? Here's a Gary Toner. What does he do well? What does Gordon do well? And we'd start out by like emulating what they were doing in matches and going, oh, well, he plays this very well. And then we would do the same thing in the training room. And at first you suck at it. Then you start to understand the dynamics, and then you learn how to make it your own. And that kind of thing was kind of always pushing pushing me technically, and also, setting that kind of direct goal that you've got. Okay, this session, I'm going to come in and I'm going to imitate X person in my grappling style. And I've never really had the attention span for DVDs and stuff like that. I do watch instructional content, but I watch very small segments to troubleshoot specific things. Otherwise, I'm watching competition footage because I want to see what's most effective when you've got someone resisting like at full intensity. And then I'll take that and work on it as much as I can. But yeah, you know, every cycle of like elite level guys is bringing new things, you know, and I think that's the beauty of the game. And compared to 2014, so we take a decade, the meta has cycled back on itself and kind of renewed and revisited in so many ways. And that's so interesting. And moves that work back then are coming back into vogue now and have different details, different kind of setups and more nuance to it. And that's always really cool. That's for me as a nerd, like of the sport, that's what I look for. And, whether I can imitate it or not, like, you know, you allow it to inform your game. And so when you do face it at elite level, you can recognize it. I think my biggest fear, like going into an elite level match is like, I'm always sitting there like going, like, what if he does something I've never seen before? And then having that conversation about actually, you know, you've been studying everything. There's nothing that you're not going to not recognize. And I think that that's important, like having that perspective and that overarching scope to go like, you're not about to be blown out by something that you don't recognize. Because if I watch a match back, I want to be able to reflect on it and go, that's the thing that went wrong. Okay, for next time, let's not do that. And I don't want to be blown out by some, you know, galactic canon that I didn't even know was there.
John Danaher the other day, I saw a clip from his seminar he did at the Simple Man Jiu-Jitsu. You'd have probably seen that clip when he was talking about basically you have to understand all the possible dangers, but then from a application of your best moves, they need to be like on.
Yes,
but absolutely. You can't be taken off guard by anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that was a pretty simple way of basically explaining
I mean,
jiu-jitsu priority, actually.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, John is so good at boiling it down to those kind of fundamentals, you know, and his perspectives on it have been super important for me, you know, also having studied philosophy, but like his ability to get to these like conceptual and fundamental things that you can boil it down to are so important, especially as I've become more of a coach, is to go, how can I make this person a more effective grappler in the least amount of time with the least amount of moves and the least amount of words? Yeah. Because if I say it long, they don't understand it, you know, and like if you start and here's the 6-week mark, I want you to be proficient. How can I do that as effectively as possible, you know? Because I look at 6 weeks because it's like your first month, you know nothing and you're just surviving. Yeah. But I want a person by their second month to be able to understand the nomenclature of the sport, right, and also have some things that they can recognize and do. I think John has been a big influence on that for me, and very, very privileged to have seen how he does that firsthand. I think, you know, as a martial arts mind, we need to protect that at all costs. So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, just such a good understanding of the sport. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to actually secretively teach my kids jiu-jitsu.
Nice.
I've been doing it for many years now because obviously they're getting older and time just keeps flying by. Yeah. And I'm interested to see how good they're going to be by the time they start. because they're pretty good.
Nice.
But they don't know.
Yeah.
Just because they'll walk
like
past me in the house and I'll just attack them.
It's like Pink Panther.
Yeah, it's so funny. But I would like to know, like, how has then jiu-jitsu and getting to this kind of level of affluence and trust in the jiu-jitsu community, how has that affected you personally?
Oh man, that's a really good question. I mean, I've always been a very curious person. Like I always want to kind of figure out not just the thing, but like the things behind the things, you know, that whole meta. I've met some really, really cool people in the sport, and I think that's the one trait that I see in particular is that a lot of people who are attracted to the sport and become elite are very curious people. So in a way, you've always got something to talk about because you've got this common interest, but like the common interest is something that permeates into every part of your life. That, you know, everyone's got a story about how jiu-jitsu has changed their life, most of the time for the better. I think the only time that it can change a person's life for the worse is through injury that leads them to stop doing the thing. And then it's not the jiu-jitsu that's made your life worse, it's the stopping that's made your life worse. But man, yeah, like as a young person, I wasn't a very confident young person. I had a couple of really awful things happen to me when we were growing up in South Africa that I think have really influenced my determination to be a proficient protector and be able to defend myself and those I care about. But I also... I think I've really struggled a lot with the imposter syndrome, especially just being like an average guy competing at places like Thomas and Mack in Vegas in front of like 5,000, 10,000 people at ADCC in the open or things like that, and going, how did I get here and why am I doing this? Like, I don't belong here, and having that conversation in myself and going, actually, I do, but having that affirmed by other people who have gone through the same thing, are seeing you go through that. And instead of choosing to not say something, and that helps to affirm something positive about your journey. I'm immensely appreciative of the people that have done that, because it externalizes an internal problem that you're dealing with. And I think that for my own mental health and for my own, just like for me as a person, I think it's been the people and the sport itself has been the single most transformative thing in my life. I think without it, I definitely would not be here at 34 years old. So, yeah, I think a lot of people want to espouse the whole jiu-jitsu saved my life thing, but I think it's jiu-jitsu changed my life. I think that's better because, I saw in my mid-20s where my life was going, and I did not like the look of that. I was forced to put that under the microscope in a lot of ways and go, if you want to be here for another decade or at all, you're going to need to make some changes. And it wasn't anything else except for getting into the training room and fortunately being surrounded by people with a positive outlook and a supportive outlook that enabled that for sure.
Awesome. So, well, you know, you're competing in 5 weeks. You know, I often think that New Zealand needs to continue to support people trying to go and do hard things. And Acuity obviously super proud of what you're doing and super supportive of supporting you over that journey and going forward. It's really awesome to kind of just take some time to kind of go a bit beneath the surface, because I think people see the top competitors in the gym and it's always, you don't know the inner conversations they're having.
And
it's such a real thing. Putting yourself out there is like going and starting a business, competing in combat sports. So yeah, super awesome to see what you're doing, and we take a lot of inspiration for it.
Thanks,
and
thanks
for coming on the pod.
Well, yeah, thank you. Really appreciate all the support from you guys, from the gym and the wider New Zealand grappling community. It means a lot, and super appreciative. So thank you for having me on, and hopefully, it's been a enlightening conversation, and really appreciate it. Yeah,
awesome. Thanks, Jahred.